Hey, it's Mr. Resource here. Mr. Change your mind, change your life. You feel me? Be the resource and be resourceful. I need that to lock in on you. I'm just here for a quick message today. Hey, listen, quick message. Change the way that you learn, you'll change the way that you earn, right? If you change the way that you learn, you'll change the way that you earn. That just means you got to change the meaning that you give to things, right? Today, I just want to focus on the way that you give meaning to things, right? What is that rooted in? Have you ever thought to take a second, take a moment, gather yourself, reflect, see, why do I think the way that I think? Where are these thoughts rooted from? Why do I believe the things I believe? Where are these beliefs rooted from? Why do I react to things the way I react to them? Where are these things rooted from, right? What is the root? Yeah, I know you say things like I believe. That's cool, but do you actually believe it? Or have you just bought into it? It's just another habit that you have, and since you don't have like a gnat, a push, you know, to move in that motion forward to be like, hey, why am I thinking like that? Why am I behaving like that? Why do I do this? Why do I do that? The reason why I'm just because I just want to, I just want to get you to just like go inside it and like ask the question. You feel me? So again, change the way that you learn, and you'll change the way that you earn. Meaning, you got to change your relationship with learning. You got to change your relationship with knowledge. You know what I mean? Like you got to change your relationship with it, because if you don't, and you don't like how your life is shaped around it now, like what's the results of your life right now, then that's what your earning potential is. No, yeah, yeah. I just like if you don't like the results you got right now and you don't do nothing about it, that's your earning potential. Yeah, I want that to sit. Like I wanted to emphasize that, right? Because I oftentimes, we have all these conversations, and yet we find ourselves never communicating, right? Like we find ourselves never in a position to actually communicate, to actually give, receive, reflect, accept, with analysis, reject. We just, those are habits, you know? The reason why I wanted to come to y'all with this message today was because I just, as I'm maneuvering through life, because I'm big on life can teach you. You gotta do the work to get to yourself to be aware enough to really pick up what life putting down. But to me, life is the best teacher, and that is through its conduits. That means through other studiers of life. You know what I mean? So meanings, right? If I think that by the hour is the way I should be paid and taxed multiple times on that same payment, then there's no way I've actually sat with that information and understood understood what's actually happening. This is what I mean, right? So you work by the hour. So you know that you get taxed by the hour, right? Well, let me reshape that. You know that you work by the hour. So and then you get taxed on that money, right? So you get taxed multiple times by the time you get the check, right? That's up for they take the taxes out before you even. So you worked for free with the belief that the check is going to show up for you when they say it's going to show up. But by the time it showed up, all the money that they wanted to take out has been taken out. Okay, right? Not only that, then you go out and you go shop and you're taxed again, right? So I'm shaping that like that because I want you to like sit with it for a second, because taxes isn't just an income tax, right? You got sales tax, you got state tax, If you own property, you got property tax, you got this tax, you got that tax. I just want you to consider that thought, and then just want to be inquisitive about how do I raise my earning potential, and then follow it up with I must raise my earning potential. Because I don't want you to just only sit with how, and then some people got different type of thought reactions, right? So for some people, be like, how can I do that? What can I do? Okay, where can I look at? What's the best industries? What's something I can quickly transition into? You have thinkers like that, right? Then you have thinkers that's like, well, I don't have any other skills. I don't really know what it. Frantic, anxiety. So you have different versions of thinkers. Here's the thing. Thinking is a muscle that you can build, but you have to intentionally and deliberately work on it. And then you'll be surprised how it opened up for you, right? So again, change the way that you learn, and you'll change the way that you earn. So at some point in time, you're going to, if you haven't already, you'll come up against a crossroad of, do I proceed? Do I make a right? Do I make a left? Do I go backwards? Here's the thing. I personally think you should never consider going backwards, right? Also, you should be weighing your options on which way to go, or you should just be going, right? Without holding yourself up too long, because holding yourself up too long is how other issues come into play, which I don't want to have a conversation about in this particular video, because I just want to just present a case for you about changing the way that you learn so you can change the way that you earn. I have this over here highlighted, right? TFDG. Think, feel, do, get. Meaning that what you think is what you feel. What you feel is what you do. And what you do is what you get. Right? So listen, again, right? Just changing the way that you learn comes into play with changing the way that you think, right? Because to me, like, I'm Mr. Mindset. So to me, mindset is the first thing to work on before anything else. Some people got different theories. I think once you crack mindset, you crack everything else. If you don't crack mindset and you crack something else, let's say your body, let's say you go and you're like, I don't want to be out of shape anymore, which is an identity shift. I want to and you go and you work on your body. You can get your body together and just only in that lane be mentally tough. But then in other lanes, not be mentally tough. That could be still personality, right? Because physicality is one thing. Personality is another thing, right? That's another thing. Communication wise, are you communicative at a high level, right? That's another thing, right? So these are still individual lanes, but not if you focus on your mindset first, which is all rooted in your thoughts, the way that you think, the things that you give meaning to, how you go about doing these things, which to me is the core, right? Right, I went down, but she went inside, the core, right? Like, again, I want to be as real as possible with y'all, right? Changing the way that you learn can shift your entire life in no time. Literally in no time. So again, I just wanted to come real quick. 9 times out of 10, I'll be back to discuss this again in more depth, because this is vital, especially with the climate and the type of economy that we in now, with people being scared about AI, job security, things of this nature, that nature. All this comes down to the way that you learn, right? So if you've learned that job security, career security, which career is just a fancier term for a job and could be considered long term, but there's some people that work long term at a job. But I don't want to make that a semantic game, because then it opens up unnecessary disagreements or arguments. So I just want to focus on, right, with AI being a new fierce player, right? That means that you would have to change your relationship, right, with the way that you learn, so you can embrace something new. Because oftentimes I see people get caught up in the thing versus what their potential actually is, right? And potential is just a meaning, understanding, view, perspective, percept. That's still the way that you think. And the way that you think can be built upon, right? You're in control of the way that you think, whether you like it or not. Yes, it's manipulative forces, influential forces, persuasive forces, and you know that to some degree. At least a nice portion of you do, right? So that means that you would have to take that from that segment, that space of life, and bring it over to the new space of life. You know, because everything that you've ever done for the first time was new. Walking, talking, thinking, smiling, you communicating, meeting people, getting dressed, putting on your shoes for the first time by themselves, riding the bike, going shopping, anything, going online. You first got a phone, watching the movie. All these things were something that was the new thing for you at some point in time, and then you learned how to do it, and then be able to maneuver through life that way. No difference with a new name. Don't get caught up in the name. Don't get caught up in the intensity behind it. You have to be able to know that you're capable of changing the way that you learn, which is changing the way that you view things, because it's all about the way that you think about it. Right? And the reason why it'll change the way that you earn is because it'll change your relationship with how you view to make money, how you view to generate money, how you view to earn money, how you view to come in contact with money, how you view how to meet up with people that you come in contact with that can potentially put you in position to get more money. All these things are rooted in the way that you think. They all are. You change the way that you think. Everything else changed. Like everything else changed. You change the ways you think, everything else changed. Right? So again, change the way that you learn and you'll change the way that you earn. Let me tell you something. You're human. You're phenomenal. Don't let them try to minimize what you are based on a system that was built to make people compete against each other in. Don't care too much about the competition. Care a lot about the development, the self-development. Care a lot about setting time inside of the time that you have to self-develop. And you can grow tremendously in each thing that you want to grow in. Right? I'm pacing because I really want these I want these points to land, because I need you to know that being human isn't a weak thing. It's a phenomenal thing. We're the only creature that we know of for sure as a collective, not special groups, right? That we can give things meaning. We can give things meaning, right? That means that we can change the way things mean. We can give ourselves purpose, right? We can make a mission for ourselves, right? We can think creatively. We can pull on we can do so many things. And then we let terminology come down, like think outside the box, and there's no box there, right? There's no box there. So whatever the potential is, you have it. The only difference between you and somebody else is physical. So that's biology. So that's height. Things that's out of your control. Everything that's in your control, you can do just as well or better. And for sure, it can be better if that's what you want to do. But if you see anybody performing at a certain rate, you can perform at that rate too. And that's not my opinion. And the only way it can be an opinion is if you decide to disagree with that. Which will be you telling yourself that you can't do it, or that's not for you, or that they're special. But I just want to tell you something, right? I want you to hear this. That's you telling yourself that, while I'm telling you something different. And I don't want you to think about what you've been through, what happened to you. No story that's going to come up and help you validate and justify why you're not good enough to do that thing. You're good enough to do any one of those things. So again, Change the way that you learn, and you'll change the way that you earn. You are phenomenal. Okay? This is not for ego purposes. This is because you are truly amazing. You are truly amazing. And you're going to have to see it for yourself. And you're going to have to strip these societal views off of you so you can actually see yourself and not see yourself the way society tells you to see yourself. You know? So again, you give things meaning, and you can have anything that somebody else has. You can have, unless it's something biological, like, I mean, maybe these things exist, but we just speak it in the realms of the context of the conversation. Like if you want a longer arm, like, you want to be taller, longer leg, not those things, right? And they don't even matter that much. Again, we allow the outside sounds to come in, and then we embrace that truth and regurgitate it, right? So anything away from that, you can have it. And I want you to know that you can have it. And I want you to stop playing yourself small and stop letting all this outside noise that's not your voice tell you what you can or can't have. And then you embrace it, and then you tell yourself that you can or can't have it, because that's BS. Okay? I appreciate you. You're amazing. You took the time out to watch this video. All I ask for is a subscription, a like, a comment, a share. Oh yeah, and to turn on notifications, because I need you to know when a video has dropped, and for you to just carve out the time inside your time to give it an ear if you are busy and not available in the moment to give it an eye. Okay? I truly appreciate you. This ain't BS, right? You go out here and you be great. It's Mr. Resource. Change your mind, change your life. Be a resource, be resourceful, because you're enough. You are the resource. All you got to do is be more resourceful and use the gifts that's inside of you to be on your side, to get whatever outside of you that you want. Got you. Yeah.